Thousands of men, women, youth and children immigrate to Sudan from different countries. Some stayed in Sudan while others have made a way out through smugglers, and some of them are still waiting for their opportunity. Some have made a choice to cross the Mediterranean Sea.
It is dangerous to people who travel by the air and the waves of the Mediterranean Sea.
Some of them also succeeded to make this choice. Others also were not lucky and returned back, while others muted among the sand dunes or at the sea or between these of predators. Through a wide networks of professional people, this exists, take place, woven together between always, dialogue and cafes, where smugglers exist. It is a world of illegal immigration. The geographical location of Sudan was imposed on it from a place where spectrums of human beings converged, and its regional and neighborhood underwent many complex political, natural circumstances that lead to heavy human movement towards this country, Sudan. More than 50 years ago, Sudan began to receive immigrants. The first group to meet was in the forms of massive refugees. At the highest of the conflict in Eritrea in the late 1960s, thousands of them began to flee to neighboring areas of eastern Sudan. Social and cultural apportionment among the countries of the region has played an important role in the continued flows of thousands of them into the Sudanese territory. As the result of all these factors, illegal immigrations in Sudan has been considered an important issue which must dealt with very much interest because of its significant effects. To learn more closely about this, such illegal migrations are organized, we have been able to, in a special way, to track down some of them whom were already working there.
The method of smuggling in the sea takes place from multiple parties. First, it is done by a broker on land. He collects people and keeps them in places until they reach the required number, and then search for a captain of the boat and is enriched with money, and then determine the day of the trip, and usually this work is done at night. The journey is equipped with a GPS navigator and a telephone connected to a satellite to communicate with. Then determine the destination of the passengers. The size of the boat varies and is usually 7 to 10 meters long and is loaded with water and fuel along with 10 to 15 people.
But the smuggling has taken new forms, with some practices becoming a trade instead of smuggling or irregular immigration.
The phenomenon of human trafficking has become a disturbing global phenomenon for all communities in the world. This crime was documented through the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which has a presence in more than 136 countries worldwide. And its presence is not an exception in Sudan. It is part of a global phenomenon.
In recent years, there has been a great movement towards illegal immigrations across Sudan through various means, helped and carried by surrounding political circumstances. This led to Sudan activating many policies and programs to curb this phenomena through many officials. A number of international and regional conventions that contributed to reduce the phenomenon were held.
It is necessary to benefit from the experiences of other countries in this field, as this phenomenon is a global phenomenon worldwide.
The most important of these efforts participate in the regional conference to combat trafficking and human trafficking in the horns of Africa, with participations of Arab, European countries, regional and international organizations. Sudan has acceded to a number of relevant international regionals and conventions, such as the Protocol to prevent, suppress and punish trafficking in persons, especially women's and children's. The establishment of Higher Immigration Council to unify immigration efforts and policies were being founded, forming a coalition of Sudanese civil society organizations to combat irregular immigrations and human trafficking, a voluntary, non-governmental networks composed of a number of Sudanese organizations, recruit and activate the works of civil society organizations, civil administrations and religious leaders in eastern states, and develop a character to reduce the issues of trafficking and human smuggling, forming a national committee against trafficking in human beings, which is considered one of the most important official components in the combating this phenomenon.
Sudan's formation of this committee has many benefits. We have joined the international community in the enforcement of one of the most important international obligations in combating human trafficking as crimes against humanity. Sudan, as a pivotal country and a very important transit country in Africa, plays a key role in reducing the proportion of illegal immigrants and also affects the policies of neighboring countries. The following is the policy of illegal immigration.
On the regional levels, efforts have been made by the National Intelligence and Security Services through CISA mechanisms through systems of actions for their countries to dismantle smuggling networks and trafficking in human beings. Sudan has been very concerned about human rights and issued a number of legislations and laws that include these rights, which can be coped with many of the issues on the rise in order to reduce them and reduce their effects, which contributed greatly in the system to combat these phenomena, especially after the enactment of the 2014 Act to combat human trafficking and set up a court and special courts for human smugglers who are very active.
In the legislative framework, Sudan issued a law to combat trafficking in human beings in 2014. The law is implemented through many mechanisms, including specialized prosecution, including the case of Kassala, along with a special court established in 2016, which is competent to deal with crimes related to smuggling and human trafficking. The results of a large number of trials witnessed in 2016 are important and significant trials, and quality efforts have resulted in a significant reduction in crime rates in Sudan.
Many of these smuggling operations have been followed by land and sea through provisions of a lot of coordination efforts. With the use of all these technical capabilities and capabilities provided by the Sudanese government to combat illegal immigration, trafficking in human beings.
The anti-smuggling force is deployed in the eastern border on a daily and continuous basis in regular patrols and has the ability to detect many infiltrations. We are dealing with the victims by providing them with shelter, healthcare and food, and they remain in Sudan for a long period of time until the situation is reconciled. This means more burdens on Sudan. Also in the framework in fighting against smuggling in the Red Sea, we have the great capabilities of owning boats and marine parts operating in an area of more than 410 nautical miles, which is equivalent to about 780 kilometers, all of which we cover with equipped boats. We also have a radar to monitor the mobile cases for our troops to deal with and ascertain them and to arrest any cases of infiltration and human trafficking.
Recently, Sudan has intensified its efforts to curb this phenomenon through several qualitative operations, some of which took place in Khartoum and some states, as in the Nile River State. And along with the border strip, during this period, many hostages and victims were released, and the numbers of the defendants who are tried in the courts of terrorism and human trafficking. One of the most important results of these efforts was that the security services were able to arrest gangs specialized in smuggling and trafficking in human beings, led by professional persons connected to external networks, such as the incidents of the Italian nationality Madhani, who was well known by the general, which was followed to arrest him in Sudan at the first arrest incidents of the leader, smuggling networks for humans. This process highlighted Sudan's coordinations with the international community to curb these phenomena of human smuggling. Sudan has continued to fight illegal immigrations and trafficking in human beings through its various means, relying on its own resources, which Sudan has achieved great results, all of which can contribute to Sudan's stability and promote its progress. The state's efforts to establish centers for the shelter and protection of victims to assist them to develop mechanisms for documenting and verifying their identity and bring the perpetrators to justice, in addition to efforts to control the wide and extended borders.
It was agreed that Sudan would have a regional center in Khartoum to discuss and exchange information on joint issues and investigations.
The elections of the countries of the region to capital Khartoum to be the headquarters of the regional center for operations against trafficking in human beings, and emphasize the roles of the countries leading these areas with adopted Khartoum process as a Khartoum process to the internationally agreed reference to combat trafficking in human beings. It made its calls on the international community to provide technical and support to the competent authorities in Sudan, to support also communities hosting hundreds of thousands of refugees in Sudan. In March 2014, Sudan was commended by the General Assembly of the Human Rights Council for Sudan's efforts to combat human trafficking. It supported 24 countries led by Germany and Human Rights Watch report. November 28, 2014, the European Union (EU) mission to Sudan through the former EU ambassador to Sudan, Thomson Yolashani, praised the Sudans for taking bold steps in reducing human trafficking by issuing a law against trafficking in human beings and hosting the regional conference on human trafficking. In addition to these efforts, the Sudanese government has succeeded in creating the political atmosphere through interactions in the national dialogue and its many output circles, the most important of which is to provide an atmosphere conducive to political action, human rights and freedoms. In addition, stability and peace in many areas of tension. For peace was worked to take some economic treatment such as multi-production projects for young people and plan to combat poverty and extensions of education with continuous awareness of the citizen. All these aims to reduce availability of reasons for illegal immigration. These great efforts in all its aspects have been able to significantly reduce illegal immigration and human trafficking. These efforts have led to a significant reduction in their rates compared to previous years.
International cooperation is necessary to provide modern communication and monitoring equipment as well as aircraft that can cover large areas.
Despite all these efforts, Sudan needs a broader participation from international community so that it can move forward more quickly in combating illegal immigration. Towards a sustainable state, we hope to move towards the future, a future full of security, optimism and life.